Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss American Trading Corporation, and you are tuned into our podcast entitled The Secret War on Cash, where we take an in-depth look at some of the changing things, the changing dynamics that are taking place around us each and every day. I have with me my podcast co-host. That's what I was trying to say, Chris Agelastos. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I wasn't sure what you were going to call me there.
Believe me, there were a lot of words and terms floating around up there, and I kind of had to just grab what I felt to be one of the safest. So
I was getting a little nervous. I appreciate you going easy on me.
didn't need to start whipping out any of your nicknames here on our podcast. So
Yeah, let's not get carried away.
all right, so here we go. Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about the markets. Getting right into it with some de-dollarization. Getting into BRICS, looking at de-dollarization 2025, excuse me. For the first time, global capital is not flowing into the US. And this seems to be becoming more and more a common theme about things that are not going on in the US.
Yeah.
Now, this whole concept of de-dollarization, which we've been covering for quite some time now, it's not new. And really, what to me kind of jumped out with this particular article is that there really are a few different definitions that could be used in terms of describing de-dollarization. And what I mean by that is, you have, like, let's take Putin as an example. We, based on the statements and the comments that he has made over the last, give or take, let's say year and a half, 2 years in particular, as it pertains to BRICS,
hmm
for him, de-dollarization is, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but not really, is basically collapsing the US dollar. And that's his intent in so doing. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, and I'll kind of let you get into this here, Chris, or talk about it. If you take a look at what they're talking about in this article, de-dollarization, one of the main parts is you're talking about these banks or these governments who are not buying or no longer buying US treasuries, and or they're liquidating US treasuries to buy gold.
hmm
And it's interesting that that is what would be categorized as de-dollarization, because now might their motivation be because they want to see the dollar crumble? Who knows? That could be part of it. But to a great extent as well, you have to look at it from the standpoint that they're doing this in many cases, I believe, for safety, for security, for protection. They're getting gold, and there's reasons to be concerned about the dollar, and yet that is also falling into de-dollarization. And so, does de-dollarization really mean? Is it really synonymous with, diversifying or getting into gold? Is it that in and of itself a safety play? Is that going to be categorized as de-dollarization now?
Yeah. Well, any money that flows into other assets instead of the U.S. dollar or into investment in the United States. Whether that's other companies from overseas investing in manufacturing plants here, that helps the dollar. And in turn, they're investing in the dollar by building a new factory and hiring workers and paying people in the dollar here in the USA. So there's all kinds of different ways to damage the dollar, I guess, or where the dollar could be damaged. And what they're talking about here is, I guess, some of the I don't want to say unintended, but it's just sort of a side reaction to everything else that's going on with BRICS and with these trade wars and the tariffs and just an overall declining confidence in the United States and then in turn the US dollar. So, one of the things that has really benefited our country over the last 50 years, really, maybe even further back than that, is that people felt really safe investing in the United States and investing in the US dollar. It was always the safest place to be. And now you have people questioning that. And I do hope that these all this tariff talk and everything that we're being bombarded with, I do hope it has a positive resolution. And I think that it needed to happen, and so I'm glad that it's coming to light, and we're working on correcting some of these imbalances. But one of the downsides is that people don't feel safe right now investing in the U.S. dollar and in our economy, and all of these other things are that are going on are unfortunately hurting the dollar and investment in the country, which then in turn hurts the currency.
Sure. Well, and on that note, looking at our second article here, um, you have Kazakhstan
Hmm.
breaks OPEC unity, and Commerzbank warns of de-dollarization. So that de-dollarization theme continues.
Hmm.
This being done as it pertains to OPEC, and the kind of the short version here is how Kazakhstan, excuse me,
Hmm.
has consistently been overproducing oil, and that's a
Yeah.
problem with the OPEC. Well, the thing with OPEC, when it was originally established, one of the things that really it helped put the US dollar in the position that it's been in for all these years is that one of the agreements of OPEC was that moving forward, going back into the 70s when it was established, all oil purchases that were done were to be done in US dollars. And so any country that was looking to purchase oil, and again, part of OPEC here, would have to take their currency, their local or their domestic currency, convert those to dollars in order to transact in
Hmm.
oil, which created tremendous strength and tremendous demand for the dollar. And as we're looking at all these factors that are now starting to kind of chip away at the strength of the dollar, and then you look at this where in all reality, when OPEC is one of the main reasons the dollar really was put in the position it's been for the last several years, and if it's disbanded, that's just another layer of problems that the U.S. dollar is going to have to contend with. Am I correct?
Yeah, and that's what they're talking about here is they're highlighting this particular issue with Kazakhstan, but it was just I believe it was last year or maybe the year prior, a few other nations had left OPEC too, and so the concern is if OPEC has less influence and member nations and extended nations aren't following the OPEC guidelines, because basically they all get together and kind of agree on how much output, because they want to control or stabilize, they'll say, the oil price. And you have now more and more nations that aren't really wanting to follow suit, and they're doing their own thing, and maybe pumping more than they should to generate more income for their nation and benefits for their nation. But the whole concern here is if OPEC falls apart, again, that's just another, it's like another knife in the US dollar, another nail in the coffin, as they say. And that's really one of the concerns here. Is this going to cause more pressure on the oil price, which can affect consumers at the gas pump certainly, and at the grocery store. As we all know, it takes a lot of fuel and oil to get our goods into the shopping malls and grocery stores and whatnot. And so that's really, the big concern here is one more thing that we have to worry about. And again, I don't like to be a doom and gloomer. I don't think this one issue is going to collapse the dollar, but it's one more arrow, right? And how much more can we keep piling on before we really see some sharp declines? And we've seen big spikes in the gold price lately because of all this instability and concern over the dollar. And so it's already happening, in my opinion, pretty quickly, and the wheels haven't come off the bus yet. So when you hear these predictions of $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 gold, that sounded crazy years ago. It no longer does.
Sure. Well, the concern with this being is much like BRICS, as BRICS continued to kind of roll along, more and more countries, started to jump on board with it.
Hmm.
And the concern here with Kazakhstan is that, if other nations who may share the similar sentiments towards OPEC and not really kind of care what OPEC's position is and continue doing what they're doing, it could, start to a trend somewhat similar to what we did see with BRICS, as I mentioned. So something
Yeah.
definitely we'll be, I'm sure, hearing more about. We'll be watching it and talking about it here on our podcast. And for those of you tuning in, if you haven't contacted our office to receive your free copy of our report entitled The Secret War on Cash, it's actually entitled The Secret War. You can do so by contacting us via phone or text at 1-800-289-2646, or visit us online at www.swissamerica, which is all one word, .com. You'll see the number as well as that link in the description here of the podcast. And if you're not subscribed to us, please do so, as we'd love to keep in touch with you and bring you more information like this in the future. So thank you so much, Chris. And for those of you tuning in, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.